President Trump is set to announce the next round of tariffs on Wednesday. Many Americans feel he's focusing too much on these taxes, which will likely raise the cost of imported goods, and not enough on inflation.
CBS News polling found that when he took office in January, 42% of Americans expected his policies would make them better off financially. Well, now that same number, 42%, say they expect his policies to make them worse off. Nancy Cordes is at the White House tonight. Nancy.
Maurice, President Trump is so confident these tariffs will work that he's dubbed Wednesday Liberation Day, and he's planning a big Rose Garden celebration. But as we get closer, economic forecasters are ratcheting up their predictions that these tariffs are going to lead to higher unemployment, higher inflation, and slower growth.
Just one comment from President Trump last night was all it took to send overseas stock exchanges tumbling today.
You'd start with all countries.
He said no trade partners would be spared from the new reciprocal tariffs he's announcing on Wednesday.
Well, essentially, all of the countries that we're talking about, wouldn't be talking about all countries. It's not a cutoff.
In Japan today, the Nikkei fell 4%. The U.S. is Japan's largest supplier of food and agricultural products.
Has the global stock market sell-off caused the White House to rethink any of these plans?
The president has always said that the stock market is a snapshot of a moment in time, and he's doing what's best for Main Street, and Wall Street will work out just fine in this administration, just like they did in their first term.
Many Americans appear to doubt it will work out fine. According to the latest CBS News poll, 72% think Trump's tariffs will raise prices in the short term. 47% think the policies will raise prices in the long term, too.
Are they right to be worried about that?
They are very right to be worried. Consumers need to expect that prices are going to go up, and potentially very substantially.
Jennifer Hillman is a professor at Georgetown Law and an expert in international trade.
We still do not know even what these tariffs are, who they're going to be applied to, or when they're going to be applied.
Is it unusual that we're just 2 days out from this announcement and there's still so little clarity?
It's extraordinarily unusual because everyone in the system needs to plan. The Customs Service needs to plan for what goods are they imposing tariffs on. The importers need to plan for what documentation they need to require. Those that are buying these goods need to know how much is the tariff going to be so that they can make a decision about whether they'd like to buy from X country or Y country or not at all.
Nancy, can I grab that piece of uncertainty and wonder when are these actual tariffs going to go into effect?
John, we have no idea. We know that the announcement is coming Wednesday. We don't know when the tariffs will actually be imposed. But what we do know from past experience is that President Trump doesn't tend to give a lot of lead time before imposing new tariffs, maybe a month at the most, which doesn't give American companies much time to adjust their supply chains if they rely on foreign parts. For some companies, that typically is a process that could take months or even years. They're certainly not going to get that this time.
Speaking of the uncertainty that you and John are talking about, what are you hearing about the chances he might pull back on these tariffs like he's done in the past?
Anything is possible. It's also possible that he could go easier on some countries, Maurice, than others. In fact, just a few minutes ago in the Oval Office, President Trump was asked about this, and he said something very interesting he hasn't said before. He said, quote, "We're going to be very kind. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us. So perhaps it won't be exactly reciprocal. We'll just have to wait and see."
More questions to come. Nancy Cordes at the White House. Thank you.
And as Nancy mentioned, a large majority of Americans expect prices to go up after these tariffs kick in.
And one place they may soon feel the pain is in the car showroom. Here's Lana Zak.
Steve Mouse, co-owner of A.M. Mouse & Son, sells American cars, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram.
So is this an all-American vehicle?
Yes, but that's actually a really good question. Like, for instance, the Wrangler on the show floor is built in Toledo, Ohio, and there's a number of parts made in Mexico.
The reality of the modern auto supply chain means a large percentage of the parts in those cars came from elsewhere.
Some people are buying very quickly because they're concerned that the prices are going to go up.
During a promotion over the weekend, 52 people test drove a car with him in just 4 hours. Experts warn tariffs of 25% on foreign cars and car parts could increase the price of new cars by $5,000 to $10,000. Prices for used cars and car parts could go up too.
How much does $5,000 to $10,000 more mean to your family?
Oh, it definitely means quite a bit. I voted for Trump. I trust him in some regards, but it's just the uncertainty of what's going to happen.
An uncertainty not only about the price of cars, but people's ability to afford them and everything else.
Is this going to be your new car?
I hope so. I've been working really hard to be able to afford a new vehicle.
Several dealerships in the Midwest, including this one here in Iowa City, tell me that they are seeing an increase in the number of people looking into used cars, sending prices higher on those vehicles before tariffs even take effect.